Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. Let's do that swing again. I'm getting really good at it. I want to have a signature swing because one day when I become famous for something, whether it be Hunt Brothering, the Bismuth Market, or the AI computer games, I want people to introduce me as Mr. Peter Dislike, and I'll go up to the stage and do that. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Oh, I like the way that the thumb swings in the air. The Peter Dislike Show. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. So I learned something this week. So I'm teaching at Phoenix College, and I learned a little bit about how to ask for favors and when you do favors to get them returned. Learned a little bit about that. It all started when one of my colleagues asked if I were able to substitute for him. He and I both teach math and computer science, and he had a sister who was going to a wedding, and those things really, really upset me. Not because have a problem with family members or anything like that. It's just that I have a different lifestyle, and there are different days that are near and dear to me. And oftentimes I don't get them reciprocated. Now, the next time I really want to take off is actually way out there in April of 2024. I'll let you look up what's going on in April of 2024. But obviously, I can't ask that right now. He'll forget about it, or he won't know what's going on that day, right? I wouldn't blame him. I don't know what's going to happen between now and April. And I was thinking about this. I do want to fill in for him because I'm available, but I want to be able to bank the fact that I helped him somewhere and not have it decay away in some way, right? Not and unfortunately, I've never had good luck doing that. People have very short-term memories when it comes to these favors, and I really hate to waste it on a different favor that I don't even need, right? So my friends have been telling me that when somebody asks you for a favor, just ask for some other favor. But I don't want to waste it. I don't have anything going on next month or even the month after that. Nothing that is completely near and dear to me, anyhow. I mean, certainly a day off here and there on occasion is nice, but nothing that's important, right? So I was thinking about this, and I talked to another friend of mine, and my I talked to my ex girlfriend. She actually suggested that I should ask for a favor anyway, because that will build up the rapport that favors are reciprocated. She says, "You don't think any of your colleagues are going to ask you another favor between now and April?" Yeah, like good point. And so I thought about it, and then I realized that I love doing the intermittent fasting for Yom Kippur. That one's always tricky because there's no fluids either, right? And especially if it's going to still be hot, right? It's going to be, I think, end of September. It'll probably still be hot anyhow. I was thinking about this, and when my colleague had asked me if I were willing to fill in on that, it was an August day. I said, well, I got to go home and check my situation again. I'll let you know soon enough. And we left it at that because I wanted to take the question home in order to ask all my friends how to handle this to make sure I bank that favor. And so I went back to the office and I was just about to blurt out, yeah, I checked my calendar, but how about, is it okay if I have Yom Kippur off? But then I realized I shouldn't ask him like that because if he celebrates Yom Kippur too, it would be a little bit offensive. So I said, hey, by the way, do you guys do anything for Yom Kippur? And he never heard of the holiday. So now I knew it was safe. I said, yeah, I checked my schedule and I actually do have that day available, but I'd like to take this day off because I usually do a fast and I want to make sure I'm inside and not go out when it's hot and I'm fasting. And I wanted to see how I was using that as a little bit of a litmus test to see how he would react to religious celebrations because I have some other informal religions, if you will, that I like to take off in the future, right? And so, for example, October 24 is Polish Idol season one. Evelina Folenta, her birthday. And I like to think of that as a solo-sexual pride. She is more or less solo-sexual. She sings about romance, and she's never been on a date before. I'm willing to bet she's singing about her romance to herself. And so I used it as a little bit of a litmus test because I knew Yom Kippur was a safe thing. If he objected to it, I think a lot of people would be on my side. So I used it as a litmus test. I'm so glad I did that, though. So many times, because of my differences in ways of life, right? You're the only one here. Okay. So many times because of my differences in life, things get really tricky. So before I landed the job at Phoenix College, I worked at a number of tutoring centers, and I had a little bit of a problem. I got along with all the students, but a lot of times the boss would watch me or listen to me, and he would hear all these unconventional things. Most of the bosses I worked with were at least in their 50s and 60s. They had never heard about somebody having a romance with themselves. The kids never were bothered by it. They had never heard about sometimes I like to talk about, especially if it's a math class, right? One of my favorite examples is how dollar cost averaging works, right? They're learning about averaging and weighted averages, and my boss gets really nervous that I talk about all these investments. Actually, one time, one of my students who was learning chemistry, I've been talking like, can you believe it? These metals are almost as rare as gold, and they're so cheap. And my student, he's 16, 17 years old, and he was saving up to buy a car. And instead, he went online and bought a bunch of exotic metals. And his mom came in to laugh and complain. I mean, they're well off. It's not like he blew all his money on this stuff. But his mom came in to kind of laugh and complain. And you know what my son did? I said, what happened? And she told me that because you taught him about how rare some of these metals are, he went out and bought a bunch of metal. And we both had a good laugh. But my boss was so upset about it for some reason. And so it's just a lifestyle, generational difference in lifestyle that always burns. Me wanting to take a day off for a solar eclipse doesn't get weighted the same way as somebody wanting to attend a wedding or a funeral or all that. I had a colleague who is Latino, and his daughter had some kind of celebration, and he took the day off, and that was A-okay. And what was really upsetting was that the week after that was actually my anniversary of the first time I ever went on a date with myself. And my boss laughed at the idea, and I still had to work that day. Not that I wouldn't mind working that day, but he laughed the idea out the window, which is very upsetting. And I ended up leaving that job. Now, to this day, I continue to get emails asking me if I want to work at so-and-so tutoring center. And I actually just went to one. I drove by it, and I kind of took a peek in the window, and I looked at how the layout was set up, and I noticed that the boss watches over everybody. Forget about it. And I quiet quit that job interview before I even started because of the condition that I saw in there. I realized that differences in life were really going to weigh heavily. Anyway, I'm so glad that I actually spoke up and did a little bit of a litmus. I kind of need that day off anyway, because if it's going to be 90 degrees out there and I'm doing a drive fast, so that's going to kill me anyhow. So that was good. This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.